we tackle the long-term strategies. Well, the dilemma with climate change is that yani, the difference between it and any other yani, issue is that yani, we have not only two dimensions or the three dimensions as virtual reality, but we do have the fourth dimension, which is time. We are predicting what will happen yani, 2050, 2070, 2100, but and what should we do then? So within the يعني the matter of creation, the creation of LTS is a very important matter. How do we analyze يعني the sectors, all of related sector, and within that analysis we should find the gaps. First of all, to build the scenario of business as usual in each of the sectors. Then after that, يعني to predict two or three scenarios, how can we reduce the emissions? And the most important and to pick the best scenario that is compatible within your GDBs or your financial flow, whether if it was yani, from international support or if it was from yani, inside the country. Dealing with other sectors is not easy sometimes. We always try to collaborate and coordinate with all of the sectors. And within that, Jordan began 2019 began within what is called the bylaw for climate change. Within that bylaw, we have a national committee headed by the Minister of Environment and consists of 16 other relevant inline institutions and ministries, the decision makers there. So within this committee, we always pass decisions, pass also what needs a serious implementation, what needs a serious dedication to the climate issue within that. So after dealing with such, and after the multi coordination issues that we did with the World Bank, we have several matters. One of those matters was called P4R, which is alone. It was for progress for climate responsive issues. And within that, we are trying to rehabilitate all of our regulatory matters, our policy matters within what is good for climate investment. Lastly, maybe before 2 weeks, we've just launched the climate or the green finance strategy by the Central Bank of Jordan, and all of those or to integrate the economical instrument within the policy of climate change implementation by 2050. And within that, we are trying to elaborate and use the market-based tools in a way that either to be an incentive or a penalty for the matter of emission reduction, but at the same time to be tools used to maintain or to have a national even source of finance that will be beneficial benefit for any new projects for emission reduction. So within that we went I'm taking much of time, is it, don't I? so, so within that we stressed the main sectors in the country, which is the energy within all of its components, the transportation, the municipality issues which include the street furnitures and the matter of roads and the matter of waste and the waste management by itself. And also each one of those is complementary to the other. We've worked with what is called the CCDR, the Climate Change and Development Report, and we had within that the two main nexuses that we are trying to implement in the country. The first, it was yani, for energy, water, and food security. The other it was for urbanization, transport, and energy. So within that issue and within yani, Jordan yani, issuing the and updating our climate change policy to be from 2022 until 2050, we are trying to put the and to connect the dots within the LTS, the long-term strategy, showing each scenario, how would it be, from where would it be, so for each sector, the pathways, and even within the reduction itself, it would be diverted either to be within the NDC's response, or it would be let's say for atmospheres or carbon credits in a way or another, or it could be used in different matters that can help build our momentum within the climate issue. Uh, if I'm clear here, I will stop. If something else, I can clarify. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you very much, and in particular for stressing the whole of economy and the multi-sectoral approach, because I think that's one area on which, when we make those projections far into the future, we need better clarity on those interactions. And on this, I should say that I believe IDB has had a very innovative approach to the consultations and some of the resolutions over the uncertainty. You started by saying, how do we project to 2040, 2050, 2060? I know IDB has had stakeholders engagement to look at various assumptions that each of them make over those time horizons to arrive at something that is more robust. So I hope the program can bring these things together to help countries move on those difficult questions. Let me now turn to Daniel Tutu-Benefor from Ghana. Now, there are significant opportunities we hear to leverage NDCs and LTS as bridges between the national decarbonization, but also urban development goals, which, as we know, are critical over those timeframes and critical to a lot of the socioeconomic and long-term development opportunities. Now, in Ghana, you have been actively reflecting climate change priorities into the draft National Urban Plan. And from your experience, what do you see as some of the benefits of incorporating low carbon urban growth agenda into the long-term climate strategies?
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I I um I wanted to answer you with a story, and I think it's very important to make the story. The fact that the whole process of crafting an LTS is crafting the aspirations of people in a very fluid, uncertain policy environment. That is what we are comfortable with. First part. We are also crafting a policy or a long-term plan that might lack credibility to deliver. Why? Because there are many tests who have had a chance to witness the failure or the lack of ability to deliver global policies initiatives. We have witnessed the lack of delivery of CDM. We have witnessed the lack of delivery of NAMAS. We have witnessed the lack of delivery of even NDCs. The last one that we did was in 2021. Then we are being told to prepare LTs. We are then confronted with a very fundamental question as to whether or not this will work and how this will work. And in our view, this is a very important question in crafting an LTS in an environment where we need to consult with multiple stakeholders and guarantee that this will work. Next point is that the LTS is grounded on both global, sub-regional, national, sectoral, and subnational policy layers. It's multi-layered. One, the original root of LTS, in my view, is rooted in Article 1.2 2A and 2B and 2C of the Paris Agreement, and further strengthened by the Article 4.5 and even 4.19. So we are explaining that the policy routing of LTS is international. Now the question therefore is, how then do you journey from a global established policy requirement to a national context and into a subnational context, reflecting the needs of the urban city managers? How do you do that? And for me, requires a very well thought through process of reflecting the requirements down to the level of the city. And therefore, in the case of Ghana, we have had multiple efforts. Currently, there is a sectorial LTS that many sectors are developing. For example, the LTS for the sector of energy. The funding for that is JETP. Unfortunately, Ghana is not able to benefit from JETP. There is a climate prosperity plan, which is dealing with climate security and climate prosperity. It is led by Ministry of Energy. Funding not delivered. We spend so much time preparing this document. So the point is that how would the LTS be different from this multiplicity of effort preparing documents and not delivering on the ground? For me, is very important. And how do we ensure that the huge figures that come out of these processes, the LTS that we did for the sector of energy, we require $440 billion. How do we unlock that investment? Right. And more so, how can we have these big numbers when the economies of our countries are struggling? High inflation, high public debt. How do we do that? The fiscal space is question. So my point is that yes, LTS is important. We are committed to that, but it may lack the ability to deliver if we don't find a practical way of dealing with it. And take note that we are crafting the aspiration of the people of the world. And in my view, we need to depart from the past. Otherwise, this will not work. I'm sorry, I have to be very rough.
No, thank you very much for your candor on the topic. I think we're all in this to make sure that we produce knowledge and capacity and a process also for a country to actually move forward on this and not just be a report, even though, of course, it's good to have a document that the UNFCCC can then look at and bring lessons to other countries and so on. In the previous session, I think we heard about the country climate platforms, and I think that might be also an opportunity to reflect on the coordination and to a better ability on the basis of those documents and those progress that you've made to actually deliver for the country and not just remain documents. So thank you very much for that. I hope you can maybe come back to what you will hear from the next speakers as well. Let me turn now to Stephen O'Driscoll from the EIB. Now, COP27 called upon MDBs to contribute to significantly increase climate ambition using the breadth of their policy and financial instruments for greater results. I think that resonates with what we've just heard. So this is one of the key foundations for the establishment of the joint MDB LTS program. In what ways can MDBs then respond to this call effectively and efficiently?
Thanks. Good. Thanks for the question. Good afternoon, everyone. I think I can be reasonably quick because my colleagues from the World Bank did such a good introduction and presentation there. But I think it's important to dwell on a few points because in some ways, I think that this is potentially one of the most important joint MDB initiatives that we've announced for quite some time. I mean, we've all heard the calls growing since COP27 and over the last year, and they've certainly crystallized here at COP28 that the MDBs need to be working better as a system. And we recognize that. So, you know, that was the primary part of the joint statement that we put out yesterday, which is mention the country platforms and so on. And we need to do this because we need to be involved in helping the countries drive proper, coherent policy planning. We need to make the connection, as you mentioned, into investment planning and making sure that that's kind of fluid and makes sense and is proportionate. And then, ultimately we need to be accelerating deployment of climate finance to where it's most needed. And that's exactly what the LTS program is designed to achieve, right? So that, we recognize it. So what we're essentially doing is joining forces amongst the MDB collective to deliver on that. And we're doing that with our country partners. We want to help them plan. We want to streamline. We want to hopefully speed up the transition. That's the end game. I think the fellow panelists have illustrated quite well how the MDBs can assist here. I think in Jordan, the World Bank have been helping you on your economy-wide LTS program, and EBRD have been helping on the power sector, the decarbonisation of the power sector. So it's working well. And what I think is interesting is that most of the MDBs, I mean, we're all slightly different animals, and I do think we bring slightly different things to the table. We've all got unique experience, whether that's in technical advisory or whether it's on the financial side, interesting financial products. I mean, we at the EIB, for example, we perhaps have less direct experience with LTS work and upstream policy support, I have to admit. But what we do bring to the table is some real depth of expertise in sector planning. We've done a lot of this, obviously, in Europe. The national energy and climate plans, we help the member states understand and kind of address how they wanted to implement those. And secondly, I think we bring some real expertise in city and urban planning as well. We've helped many cities and regions across the world in preparing their plans. And actually, one really excellent example of that is the GAP Climate City Fund, which we manage with the World Bank, colleagues in the World Bank. And that's designed to take kind of interesting climate ideas and turn them into strategies and financeable projects. And what actually the GAP Fund does is draw off national climate policies and strategies. So you can see the potential synergies in joining those two. And it was interesting to see in the stock take that we did that 64 countries are getting support from more than one MDB for either just transition work or LTS work or NDC work. So clearly there ought to be opportunities in actually joining forces together to gain some efficiencies and synergies there. And hopefully we can make that support more targeted. That's ultimately the idea. And on top of that, the improved coordination between MDBs, the program will help bring to bear some dedicated program management, some proper cross-MDB technical coordination, and some partnering functions. And hopefully this will help make things run faster and smoother. So, it really is exciting to think that with all that experience and capability, we can really combine. That might be a very powerful proposition in support of our country partners, and we can really use this as a force of action for scaling up. Should mention partners, of course, Richard, 2050 Pathways platform, our colleagues from NDCP. We hope to very much work in unison with them, not just as a collective of MDBs. And Zoe, of course, you're co-chairing the NDCP, so it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say from your two hats, in fact, with the UK government as well. So I'll stop there, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and also for stressing the relative forte of the different MDBs who can maybe more effectively get to the whole, I shouldn't say value chain of LTS and decarbonization, but be able to help at different stages of the way and bring those expertise when needed. So thank you very much for acknowledging that. Let me now turn to Zoe Norgate. Now, you're wearing two hats today, representing the UK government and the NDC partnership, which is an implementing partner in this space. Given your experience supporting countries in developing the long-term net zero greenhouse gas, climate resilient and sustainable development pathways, and sharing the knowledge through the partnership, what are some of the lessons that you could distill from the work done so far, and how could they inform the program that we're launching today?
Well, thank you, and thanks for inviting me. It's lovely to be here. I should start by saying really that we very much welcome the launch of this facility, and I would agree with everything we've heard from other panelists so far. I think it's, and it's great that the MDBs are working together in a coordinated way on this. So very much welcome it. And the UK, with my UK hat on, we are in the process of looking at how we do our next round of support to, in fact, to the NDC partnership, not just to the partnership, but actually all of the organizations that help respond to those requests that come through the partnership. And we will be looking at this facility as part of that process. So we'll hope to come back with some good news early next year. I just want to touch a little bit on NDC partnership, actually, and what it is, and that then lead into sort of what we've learned from experience to date. So I think I often hear people talk about NDC partnership as a sort of a that. I'm pretty sure I would say, nearly everybody in the room is part of the NDC partnership. It's a we, it's not a they. Obviously, we have a support unit who do all of the trying to match make the asks, the requests from countries with the support that is on offer. But it's not a program. It's not a normal facility, the NDC partnership. It's a club where we all come together. After Paris, we said, okay, we come together now with all of the support we have. So we have 120 countries and 90 development organizations and bilateral donors in the partnership. And really, it's the place where we try and coordinate this mess of all the different offers and all the different providers, and say to countries, okay, what do you need to help you plan your NDC and to prepare to implement it and attract investment into your NDC. So I really hope, and I see that happening, but I think we can do even more to kind of use it as a place where we can figure out actually who's doing what in which country and how we don't duplicate and we work together. So what we have seen so far, so we have been supporting countries, drawing on all of our partners to do NDCs, to enhance NDCs, and increasingly to do long-term strategies as well. So last year we launched, so I should say countries come to NDCP at any time with requests for support. And on a monthly basis, we go out to all of our partners and say, can you help with this? And many of our partners, I think we have around 59, 60 partners in the last year who have responded to those requests. We also, from time to time, launch a specific thematic call. So in the first instance, it was to help with actually preparing, doing the analysis, writing NDCs. The one we launched last year was both LDCs and LTSs, and even for people who have LTSs or NDCs, but to do enhancements or additional work to those. So we've had 49 countries interested to date in that. 36 have actually put in requests, and with the support, I should say, of the 2050 Pathways platform to help think through what actually they need, what the request is. And of those 36 that have requested so far, 30 were for long-term strategies, and a pretty broad geographical spread. So 16 in Sub-Saharan Africa, 11 in Latin America and the Caribbean. There is definitely a gap currently, I think, or I hear from the MDB colleagues in terms of your ability to respond to some of these requests. So I think this facility would brilliantly answer that need, and is really welcome. The context is, and I think this is one of the key learnings, is very different in every country. So people are at different stages of the process, or have done strategies, need to update them, or so I think it's really fundamental that we take what the starting point is in that particular country, in that context, and work from there rather than trying to apply the same approach everywhere. To give some example, I think the requests that have come through this call organized by the NDC partnership in Georgia, I think you mentioned Georgia earlier. So in Georgia, the request that came into this call was to actually take the long-term strategy and then mainstream it into sectoral development plans and into the legislative framework and into the institutional arrangements across government. So, that type of work, as well as producing the strategy, that sort of follow-on to really give it teeth is so important, and that's being supported, I know, through FAO, GIZ, IRENA, UNDP coming together to support different parts of it. Togo would be another example where they're doing long-term vision and the methodology and looking at the socioeconomic co-benefits. So I think, I've heard already, I don't want to go over because I've heard a lot already, I think, from other panelists about how, what's important in putting together a long-term strategy. And I agree with all of that. Really how the process is shaped determines the outcome. And I think Daniel gave us a really good reality check on, really having a clear vision at the outset about what is this going to influence, who is responding to this, which stakeholders do you need to be ready to implement it at the end of it when we start off? Because if not, if we don't have a sense of that, who owns it, what is it going to influence, how is it integrated into the World Bank country plan or your national development plan, then what, as Daniel says, why bother? We need to have our sights on what it's going to achieve. And we need to, I think Birgit mentioned being inclusive, making sure that we're not competing, we're collaborating, we're looking at what work has already been done in country, what plans already exist, what analysis work from there, use the structures we have in government like the NDC and country facilitators, etc. So I think, there's a lot, and the sustainability as well. When we're embarking on this process, who owns the data and the analysis and the methodology, and who's going to update it? And there's lots of great learning from the partnership, I think, around that. But I think MDBs have fantastic technical capability to support and to make, as Daniel was saying, that really critical link through to then implementation. And I would just also put it, alongside. So this work is super welcome, and we hope to be able to contribute. Alongside that, and I think the point Daniel made was absolutely critical, that we have already, a lot of countries now who have pretty developed NDC, and again, this is NDC, what needs to happen in the next 5 years rather than the long term, but pretty developed NDC implementation plans or investment plans. And they're of variable quality, but there are really quite a few that have got good high-level political buy-in. They've got ownership, they're costed, they've got metrics for tracking. They can be the basis of cross-government resource mobilization. So Nigeria, Rwanda, Uganda, Zambia, Panama, Grenada, Jamaica, Cambodia, Georgia, just a few from our experience in the NDC partnership, where there's a great job to be done now. And I really hope, the work that the banks have announced about sort of coming together, trying to increase that sort of country platform type approach. There's some fantastic opportunities here with countries that are ready to do that. So, and the countries we've heard from today as well, I should say. So we would really welcome that focus on the implementation alongside the strategic planning. So let me leave it there. I've spoken for too long, but it's a really fantastic initiative. Thank you for putting it together.
Thank you very much, and for stressing in particular this link to implementation. I think that's always the next question that we as practitioners of the long-term strategy elaboration in countries is, what does that lead to? And we have examples where very practically we develop investment plans or policy roadmaps and the like. And I think this was presented as one of the key pillars in the latter stage of the LTS by the colleagues from the World Bank. So thank you very much to our four panelists. I think we're just about on time to give the floor to Graham Watkins from the Inter-American Development, where he's chief of the Climate Change Division, and is going to give us concluding remarks. I think this mic works. Yeah.
Does this work? Okay. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. It's abridged. Firstly, there's a clear need for this. There's coherence, which is interesting, that everybody's thinking the same way. Must be doing something right? Go through 3 big points. The key characteristics of this, the cascading effects of actually doing the process, and the MDB role. Key characteristics, country ownership's absolutely crucial. It also leads to a narrative shift, and we also heard that we need to be doing what's best for people in the country. This is about the country. It's not about what we want at the end of the day. It's transversal, and that requires consultation, discussion. It's complex, very complex to do economy-wide whole of government work, so that's key. Long term, which means that it goes through governments. It's state policy, basically, that you need to be doing. And those policies then guide public and private investment, which is actually crucial. Cascading effects, investment plans, sector plans, subnational plans, financing plans. I heard all of those. Um, Basically, climate and development actions that would come from having the base to be able to move forward. I also heard mention of cost benefit analysis as being crucial because that's what drives the politics of this. That gives you deals that can help deal with the political economy of the changes that are ongoing. Capacities in country, key. It's not just about doing the LTS, it's actually about building policy capacity. We know about policy loans, which I think are crucial elements in dealing with this. And actually, the question of transversal governance. Climate's a wicked problem. It needs different solutions in how we think about doing the agenda. MDB roles, we're in the countries, we can help implement, not just develop, but implement. Technical assistance for policy change, policy loans are key elements of this. That helps us move the agenda forward. And also, finance side, the questions you raised, that, where's it all going to come from and how do we do this? And innovative finance, rethinking how we do what we need to do. If we need to reduce the cost of capital in Barbados, then let's work out how to do it. If it's currency risk, let's work out how to do it. Let's deal with that. The links to country platforms. I actually think personally that's crucial. That is critical. The collaboration amongst the MDBs and creating those platforms to actually move the agenda forward. So this is a significant milestone. I think we use that terminology. Commonalities and learning that we need to be sharing much more about. And we need to be working as the NDC partnership. And we also need to continue working with our colleagues and friends, not just you guys, but there are actually a lot of other actors now in countries. Thank you to Germany and the UK, because, without money, this is just, what is the language of Swaminathan? This is just conservation. And anyway, we're not going to achieve anything unless we can actually move this agenda forward rapidly. So I'll stop there. I think I did it good enough.
Thank you all, and I won't add anything to those very inspiring final words, and best of luck.